or watch online at cspan.org or listen live on the free C-SPAN radio app. White House advisor Kellyanne Conway spoke to reporters this morning about the release of the Mueller report. This is about 15 minutes.
Hi, Kellyanne. Good morning. Kellyanne, just a few moments ago on Fox and Friends, you said that Adam Schiff should resign. To be clear, is that your personal opinion?
Oh, it's my personal opinion, and let me express it again in case it wasn't clear. Many of you, but certainly many of others who aren't represented here, have allowed this person, as ranking member and now chairman of the Intelligence Committee, just let a lie fly for 2 years, literally going out, not under oath, and saying day after day, moment after moment, full of vim and vigor, snark and bark, that there's a mountain of evidence of collusion against the president and may actually be bigger than Watergate. In fact, people who were involved in Watergate were claiming it would be bigger than Watergate, based on nothing other than their ability to get on to the next TV show. So if he wants to be the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, he should get off the TV and go and do his job. But he hasn't been doing that. He has been able to have unfettered access to all of you, some of whom let the lie fly for 2 years. What you've done to people's lives, what you've done to the presidency, what you've done to the institutions, not you, I'm not pointing at the media, so don't feel sorry for yourself. You've made a great victim of Donald Trump here, because the obsession with the 2016 election and the inability to, coin a phrase, quote, accept the election results, has placed us perilously close to the 2020 election. And I don't care if 2 Democrats run or 50 Democrats run or 100 Democrats run. Anything times 0 still equals 0. So if they've got no compelling message, it's still one big 0. That's somebody else's problem. But the idea that this president has been under this cloud, not of his making, by people who simply just could not accept how wrong they were about 2016, and that this man may have, in our great democracy, in this beautiful country that we all are privileged to live in, that he would not have been elected by anything other than fairly and squarely 306 and 304 electoral votes in this country, the way we elect our presidents. You let Hillary Clinton have an extended tour, you let Jim Comey say whatever he wanted, this liar and leaker who the Democrats couldn't stand, and then he was the second coming. You really have to reflect, folks. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I'm here all the time talking to you. We make ourselves available. The president makes himself available. I was asked 10 times a day on TV in the 2016 elections after that final debate where Hillary Clinton basically admitted she's for infanticide. I was asked 6 times a day, will he accept the election results? Will he accept the election results? Will you? Will people who are there for the destruction of Donald Trump accept the election results in 2016 finally? Will these Democrats who chair powerful committees, will people in the media who aren't under oath in their anchor chairs, who have wasted all this time, all this money? And you know what really gets me, a very calm, very happy person? I'll tell you what gets my goat. You don't owe me an apology, you owe the country an apology. And the you, I'm not talking to all of you here, I'm talking generally. But let me make very clear to you, it gets my goat that we're doing great things in that building behind you and you refuse to cover it because you had to cover collusion, you had to cover conspiracy, and you had to cover the Russians, you had to cover treason, you had to cover impeachment, you had to cover indictment, you had to cover nonsense. And there are people out there who are relying on you to help us tell them what we're doing for them. The veterans, the drug addicts, the people languishing in prison who have long paid their dues to society. We have joint custody of this country together for the next 6 years. And so let's do a better job, shall we? And if I see any of you writing, because I don't read it, I'm not here to read about myself, but people will give it to me, ranting, fuming, but put me down as not ranting or fuming. Put me down as somebody who is asking you to really reflect, as I did after the 2016 elections, but nobody did. Nobody lost their jobs after being so wrong.
There are still lingering questions, Kellyanne, about the Mueller report. This morning, one of the president's lawyers said that it would be very inappropriate for DOJ to release the president's written answers. Would the White House exert executive privilege to keep those private? Is that the White House's position that they can exert executive privilege to keep those behind closed doors?
I'll let the president and his attorneys address that directly. I'm a fully recovered attorney, but I will tell you this. I did note something that's not getting much coverage, which is that apparently Mr. Mueller and Mr. Rosenstein saw no reason to subpoena the president. He had his answers to written questions. There's no obstructive conduct, and they saw no reason to subpoena the president for testimony, for live testimony. So, again, those who are saying protect Mueller, how many times have I been asked? I'm just one little molecule here. How many times have we all been asked? How many times has Sarah been asked? Sean Spicer, Donald Trump, everybody been asked. Will you fire Mueller? Will he fire Mueller? Will we protect Mueller? We must protect Mueller. Mueller is protected. Nobody obstructed the.
Because for months, if not a couple year and a half, the president talked about how Mueller didn't have much credibility. He even called him a liar at one point. Yeah. Does the president still think Mueller's a liar?
He let the Mueller investigation continue. He never fired Mueller. He never fired Rosenstein. He just let it go. In fact, Rosenstein stayed on board to see the whole thing through Barr, through a new attorney general, three attorneys general.
The report has credibility.
He told you yesterday out in the South Lawn, last week out in the South Lawn, let the people see the report. He agrees with the 420-0 vote. But how the report comes out is not up to him. You know that, folks. It's up to the Attorney General.
Has he spoken to the Attorney General?
We're not going to be the ones who make up government and want to get in the way of different.
Does the president owe Mueller an apology?
Great to see you. I'm sure you're full of questions today. I got answers.
Does he believe it's the obligation of the Attorney General to look into how this investigation was launched and whether there was any conduct suspicious or untoward in the way this was launched? He implied that yesterday before he got on Air Force One in Florida.
As the president would say, many people are saying that. And the reason they're saying that is to know how we've gotten to this point where there is no obstruction. It said no obstructive activity, no collusion, no conspiracy, which is a word that Americans do understand, not the made-up word collusion, that lie you let fly all those years. That we ought to know how this started. Why not? Let's see the FISA warrants. Let's get all the information from the 7th floor justice at the top echelons of FBI, those people getting their insurance policies, demeaning and deriding Trump voters, of which I am one, and of whom I will always be protective, the forgotten men and forgotten women, demeaning them, trying to get the insurance policy, not just putting a thumb on the scale of justice, but sitting on the scale. So sure, let's see it. What is everybody afraid of? We no longer want the truth. We no longer facts first. We no longer want to know what happened. We no longer are trying to protect the institutions. Nobody has flinched or winced or felt reluctant for a second in 2 years and $25 million plus and 500 witnesses and 13 foreign government requests. Does anybody feel embarrassed about that? That we're spending our time speaking to other foreign governments about this and not about the many issues? And I have to say, the president's record over the last 2 years, I'll put it next to the record of any other president, because what he's been able to accomplish on behalf of the American people under this cloud is pretty remarkable. So without this cloud, I'd say he's just getting started. That is really up to the Attorney General. You know the protocol here. He said last week, let the people see the report. But what of the report is issued is not up to the president. It's up to the Attorney General Barr. And everybody knew that going into this. You can't just abracadabra your way into what's in the report and whose ox will be gored next. But this is what happens. This is the nature of fishing expeditions and unverified, as the president would say, hoaxes and witch hunts. You never really know when they're going to end, and you never really know what's going to happen next. I'm surprised everybody wants all the information to come out, though, because there certainly are people who have cooperated with the investigation who couldn't stop texting and emailing and talking to media.
The Attorney General said Mueller kind of punted on the issue of obstruction of justice. Do you guys wish he had weighed in more fully on that? And how do you kind of reach that conclusion that there was no obstruction when it's still sort of an open question?
Well, I read the quotes, no obstructive conduct. So clearly they've concluded no obstructive conduct. I'll take that. Versus the collusion, Watergate of 2 years. So I sort of like our odds today. But, however, the failure to find obstruction means that no obstruction was written into the report for a reason. But let's not forget where that came from. That came from leaks and accusations. I believe it started with Jim Comey, leaking to lots of folks, saying that he specifically leaked information hoping that it would draw an investigation. So I know he's out with the Redwoods or over that he's in geopolitical, geological time. He's doing something aggrandizing himself. But maybe we'll have to hear from him again. Maybe he should go get a lawyer. Maybe he should be brought in. Maybe you shouldn't give him the hero's welcome and the phony book tour. Maybe he should be asked what happened again under oath. But we'll see.
Can I follow up on my previous question, Kellyanne?
He said yesterday that people were unfairly treated in this investigation.
But he's
now
right.
That this conclusion has happened, is he newly considering any pardons for people like Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort?
I haven't discussed that with him.
Does he see any further justification that maybe that would be justified after these conclusions were released?
I haven't discussed that with him.
Do you believe that these people should be, that these charges should be thrown
When
out?
I'm president, I'll let you know who I'm pardoning. How's that?
Kellyanne, if the president has no problem with the Mueller report itself coming out, and you're saying let the FISA warrants come out, then why shouldn't the country be able to see the president's written responses?
Because he was responding to questions that it turns out weren't particularly relevant or important to anything. There's no collusion, no obstructive conduct, no conspiracy, no indictments, nobody named Trump indicted. And so, I know you want to keep this, I know lots of folks want to keep this alive and get to the next investigations, but let me say very clearly, the country will see the Mueller investigation where Mr. Mueller said nothing, Director Mueller said nothing for 2 years. They will see that as the fair and full and thorough investigation using their tax dollars, wasting their time, all the stories that were never said, thousands and thousands and thousands of stories about this to the detriment of all the other news that Americans could have used. This is the fair and full investigation that they will regard. So anything now, any other investigation in Congress, that can be seen as hyper-partisan, politically motivated, gnawing at the same bone. To coin a phrase from the Democrats in the late 90s, move on. That's what people will say.
Let me ask you real quick something else that came out on Friday. The sanctions, the president tweeted, and that we're now finding out that they're not going to move forward with any large-scale sanctions against North Korea. This happens to be seeming a 180-degree policy
That's been answered
change.
this weekend. There's a difference between the Chinese the day before and then the broader sanctions. Kevin, I got to get to the meeting.
With regards to that issue of moving on, shortly after the midterm elections, the president said that he would be willing to work with Democrats, but that it couldn't be a dynamic where there's talk of impeachment or a sense of continuing investigations. At what point, in terms of whether or not to investigate the investigation, so to speak, would the president be willing to move on entirely when you have House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler calling in AG Barr?
Kevin, let me help you a little bit with that, and thanks for the question. I'm going to walk in that building now. We're going to have a number of different meetings, everything from infrastructure to drug pricing to healthcare overall to, you name it, it's done here. Trade, obviously, is ongoing, keeping this unbelievable economy booming. So we're ready. The president tweeted out after a call with Speaker Pelosi within the last 6 to 8 weeks, I believe it was. You can check it. Just hung up the phone with Speaker Pelosi, and we're going to work together on infrastructure, drug pricing, and other things. Okay? Where are they? Where are they? They can come here today. They can call today. And I've seen a number of Democrats getting the religion of bipartisanship just overnight. We need to work together on infrastructure and drug pricing. A lot of the moderate members who, particularly those Democrats who won Trump districts in 2018, they're very upset. You're starting to see the articles, but we've known for a while because they tell us directly, very upset with all the ink and airtime you give the extremist freshmen who are in these very safe liberal districts out there talking about Green New Deals that cost trillions of dollars and socialism and infanticide. And do we still have the governor of Virginia today? I don't know, Lieutenant Governor, the alleged racist over there. Is he still there? Because I don't see any of you covering that. You might get back to that, colluding with his yearbook. Focus, folks, focus, and let's focus on issues. But you know what? I'm out here constantly. Sarah's at that podium. We've been many places, the president himself. All we've tried to talk about is issues. And you know what you've said to us? We'd love to talk about those issues, but collusion. We'd love to talk about those issues, but Russia. We'd love to talk about those issues, but tweets. That's what you've said. We've been talking about. What do you want to know? I can hold forth on pretty much any policy issue in that building. What would you like to know? Are you really willing to know it? Because we don't say it. But meanwhile, Secretary Mnuchin, Ambassador Lighthizer back in China to negotiate trade. USMCA, Congress should come up with a vote on that, Kevin. Let's get the best trade deal we can for America, the American worker, the American industries. This president's leadership means manufacturing and mining and warehouse and construction are back. And so let's get a vote on USMCA. Let's get this done for the American people. Let's see how honest people who are calling for bipartisanship today, who were lying about evidence of collusion and worse than Watergate for 2 years.
Kellyanne,
that's an issue.
Kellyanne, you and the president seem to be on the same page that you're adopting the conclusions of Attorney General Barr based on his reading of.
You're not? Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, can I finish my question, please?
I didn't hear a question, but go ahead.
Well, let me get to it then. My question is:
who, what, where, when, how? That's how they start.
Is the president also adopting Mueller's finding that Russia did interfere in the 2016 election?
Oh, we talked about that so many times. But is there causation? You never finished the sentence. You never had the decency to finish the sentence. What's the causation? I'm a fully recovered attorney, but I remember probably the first day of law school they taught us, where are the damages? What's the causation? What vote was changed? You allowed Hillary Clinton to run around. If it wasn't Comey's fault, it was Russia's fault. If it wasn't Russia's fault, it was this one's fault. It was her fault.
Does it matter?
A lousy candidate.
Does it matter if votes were changed, though? A foreign power interfered.
And our intelligence community and others, we've all addressed that. And if you want to do something for this country, work together to make sure that foreign interference doesn't happen.
Kellyanne, has the president spoken with the Attorney General in the last 24 hours, and does he have plans to?
I know the Attorney General's been very busy. The president conferred with his own attorney, so I'm not going to comment on that.
The president,
Golan Heights question. Can I ask Golan Heights? The president expected to make a declaration today.
Sorry.
On the Golan Heights. I understand the president.
The president said it's time to recognize that, and that this helps with peace in the Middle East. He made it very clear on Friday how he feels.
How is this not different from Crimea, though?
What do you mean?
Russian invasion of Crimea.
How is it not different from the Russian invasion of Crimea?
Is this any different?
Yes, it's different. Read the president's tweet and read his intent. And by the way, while you're at it, why don't you run a story, since you can't do collusion and obstruction of justice and conspiracy today, unless you're so shameless you will. Let's all run a story about the president's record in Israel. This is why Mr. Netanyahu has said that he is the best friend Israel has ever had. The best friend Israel has. Why? Because he kept the promise of not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 6 presidents to move our embassy to Jerusalem to recognize it as the capital of Israel. He is brokering peace in the Middle East. He got us out of the awful Iran nuclear deal. Is John Kerry running for president this time? I'm not sure, but that was a really bad deal. Got us out of there. They have their sights set on Israel in a negative way. And now with the Golan Heights, the president said it's long overdue to do that. So I don't see the analogy.
Do you have a comment on
anybody else? Any new questions?
His visit short?
Pardon?
The prime minister is
you would have to ask his team why that is. And welcome Capitals, hometown team coming today.
Are we going to see the president on cam today?
On what?
We got Sarah.
Want to stop by, Sarah?
Are we going to see the president on camera
Sarah Sanders, White House press secretary.
Yeah, I got to go get a lot.
We're colluding.
I'll see you guys in a minute.
She'll answer your questions afterwards.
Where were you when it came out?
Having the Mueller report released to the public. And I was asked that about 5 times. The president said,
Congress received the Attorney General's summary of the Mueller report on the investigation into Russian involvement